What specific skills do you think students may need when thinking about venturing into the freelance world and all of that?
Sure. I've done freelance for a long time, on and off in my career. And I think it really started when you need to get experience and you really need to get those opportunities. And a lot of times there aren't the part-time or the full-time jobs. And, especially in the field of, journalism, whether you're print or broadcast or, whatever you're doing, there's opportunity, but it's hard to find. So so it kind of became sort of necessity to do that, to start out as a freelancer in some cases, because that was sort of the foot in the door a lot of times. And basically what you do is you find out who the editor or who the manager is in whatever case it is, and send them an email or call them up on the phone and start talking to them and tell them that you're interested in helping them out. And the idea is that you're helping them out, uh, not that, it's sort of a twist on, yeah, they're helping you because you want to get paid and you want the experience and all of that, but you're also helping them because they don't have enough people. There are never enough people to cover all the sports that are out there. And so having freelancers, for an editor to have a group of freelancers is really great for them. It's something that they want because it's their way of then giving all those sports the coverage that they should be given. So it's just reaching out to them and talking to them and asking them, what kind of where they need help and that you're available to help them. And that's sort of in every case how it's for me, how it started. Um, Whether it was in Chicago at the beginning of my career, I was working as the assistant sports editor at the City News Bureau. And that was actually a wire service at the time. They covered high school sports in Chicago and some amateur sports. And at the same time, I freelanced for the Chicago Tribune, the Chicago Sun-Times, the Daily Herald, and some weekly papers in Chicago at the time. And that's another avenue. Weekly papers are also a great place to get experience because they always need help too. And most of their staff, as you would call it, are freelancers. So, and that was just, reaching out to people, calling them up, talking to them, saying you're available to do certain things. One thing that people always overlook if we're just talking sports here, is feature stories. Everybody always thinks about game stories and, oh, I want to go cover that game and everything. But I even find here where I freelance I'm basically a full-time freelancer for the Arizona Daily Star. And I find that some of the other freelancers don't freelance that much. And that may be because they're busy with other things. But I also find that they don't always pitch stories and pitch features. And that's where a lot of the nuggets are found, and maybe that you can find your niche is pitching those types of things that, read the publication that you want to work for, or watch what they're doing on TV, or listen to them on the radio, whatever it happens to be, or their podcast, and figure out where the gap is, where they need help, so that when you reach out and you talk to these editors, then you're saying, well, I noticed that you may need help in this area, that I don't see this. Is this an area that I could help you? And then they'll be even more impressed and more likely to take you up on it because you've done the research, you've figured out where they need help, and you're ready to step in there. So that's always a good thing. And sort of that's how you go about it. There's no sort of secret sauce, really. It's when you think about it, yeah, I would do my research, figure out if they need help in different areas, and then contact them. That's sort of it. And then when you're in there, like I was right in the beginning, I guess I'll tell the story now of how I started here at the Arizona Daily Star. I moved to Tucson about 5.5 years ago. And I wasn't sports writing at the time. I wasn't freelancing in the sports world, but I had my business and and I had plenty of clients doing consulting. And I moved here and I thought, you know what? Maybe I should reach out, try to get a local client, and maybe use my sports background. So that would be great. And I could get into the community and meet people, and this would be a great way to do it. So I met with someone who has tremendous experience in sports, and he worked with teams. And we talked, and it was great. And he said, you know, you should really call the editor at the newspaper, and he's a friend of mine, and here's his information, and you should talk to him. And I was like, okay, fine. And I went home and I thought about it for a while, and I really didn't think I wanted to go back to freelance sports writing. But I thought, you know, I'll just send him my stuff and we'll talk, and maybe he can introduce me to people, or it'll be somebody else who knows people that I could be connected to, and maybe, you know, make a friend and a business acquaintance and that kind of thing. So I sent an email, and it was towards the end of July, and I thought now's a good time because it's summer and there are no college sports going on. And I didn't hear back, and I thought, oh, whatever. And so I waited a little bit longer than I usually do. And about 3 weeks later, and towards the middle of August, I decided to send a follow-up email. And I was just like, you know, I know that you're probably busy gearing up for the school year and your coverage and everything. And it would be great to talk to you. And, you know, and I attached what I had sent before. And he got back to me right away, and he apologized because he had meant uh, to respond to me, but he didn't. And that's another little good tip, is that uh, people are really busy. Um, you're busy with, you know, your day-to-day regular thing, and yeah, you have a need for something, or you want to hire somebody, but you have a lot of fires to put out on your day-to-day stuff, and so you don't always have a chance to get back to people. So he got back to me and we talked, and he really loved my clips, and he was really, you know, excited about working with me. But he said, you know, we really don't have much right now. We're starting up high school football, and he's like, I know you're way past that, but if you want to go out and, you know, cover a high school football game for me, you can, and we'll see what happens. He's like, anytime you don't like it, it's not fun, you tell me and we can stop. And so I wasn't really thrilled, to be honest, because I didn't even know if I really wanted to do this at this point. But I went out, and I remember coming back and writing my story, and it was kind of hard. I sort of liked it, but then it was hard. And I have a really good friend in Chicago who's a sports writer and sports editor. And I was texting him, and because he was covering high school football at the same time I was, so we were both up, even though the time difference. And I was like, wow, this, like, maybe I don't have it anymore. And he's like, no, no, you're just rusty. You'll get it. And so the same thing, we did the same thing every week. And a few stories in, I got assigned something else. And it was to go to a press conference for the L Tour de Tucson, which is a huge bike race that's held here in Tucson every year in November. And then I got put on that. Now that's like one of the things I cover every year. And throughout the year, they have different things going on, and I do it. So I already like started earning other things, and he started throwing other things at me. And then he said, well, you know, we don't have anybody to cover women's basketball, and they have a new coach, and she's an alum, and she came back to coach here, and they've been bad forever. but we have this new coach, and would you cover this until February to one of our full timers can get back on? And so I started covering the team, and January rolled around, and my editor came and told me, well, now you've earned the beat. And so that's how I got the Arizona women's basketball beat. And it sort of all snowballed. And I would just pitch them stories. And I'd be like, oh, nobody's written about swimming or tennis. Can I write a story? Sure. And not just can I write a story, but I would come with a specific story like, oh, I noticed that this athlete is doing this, and it might be interesting to find out more about them. And he'd be like, sure, go do it. And then they got a new swimming coach. And I right away called him up and I said, oh, can that be my beat too? And he's like, sure, you can write on swimming. And so everything sort of just snowballed after that. And part of it was this give and take of, I would pitch something or he would have something and he'd throw it at me and say, can you do this? And then it grew and I became a full-time freelancer for them.